guys, welcome. Oh my god, why am I like choking right now? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and to another spring related video. So as some of you guys might know, Ontario is currently in like a stay-at-home lockdown order kind of situation. So everything is closed and I am stuck just filming inside my house. So I asked you guys in my community tab just to vote between 3 different videos to see which one you guys wanted to see. And this one was the most popular. So recently I did like a spring runway fashion trends kind of video and you guys really seemed to like it. So I thought that I would do the same thing with the style that I'm going to be wearing for the spring and summer and kind of just talk a little bit more about that. Okay, truly, I originally wanted to do this video as like a thrifting my Pinterest board kind of video. I've seen those around. I think they're so fun. So I kind of wanted to do something like that. But unfortunately, due to the new restrictions, everything is closed. So I can't even go to the thrift store until like the end of May or something. However, I am still going to be doing that video. Most of my Pinterest is actually private, but I am going to leave one of the boards open. So I kind of created kind of like my vision for like my spring summer wardrobe. This video is pretty much like a big mood board of what I'm planning on wearing for the spring and summer. I do have my laptop here because I need to keep myself on track. I kind of like sidetrack and ramble a little bit, so I do have it here so I can keep myself on track. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to be wearing for the spring and summer is stripes, and if you remember from my spring summer fashion runway trends video, stripes were all over the runway, so it is very like on trend of me. This is something that I kind of wanted to wear anyway. It was just kind of like a coincidence that it was actually on the runways this year. Stripes have always pretty much been on trend. They kind of pop up in different parts of history, with the first appearance in medieval times, but at this time it was only worn by criminals and clowns. However, this all changed when Queen Victoria dressed her son Albert in a striped sailor suit to board the royal yacht in 1846. Look at Queen Victoria being like an absolute icon. Like, not only is she a queen, but she's also like just a huge trendsetter. I mean, look at her kind of making stripes popular. She popularized Christmas trees in England. She also, like, the reason we wear white wedding dresses is because of Queen Victoria, and I mean, she's just like a trendsetter. Love her. During this time, sailors were already wearing horizontal stripes because it was easier to spot when like somebody went overboard or something. It was just a lot easier for you to find them in the water. However, sailors were seen as having an inferior status to captains and lead officers, so the aristocrats at this time wore vertical stripes as opposed to the horizontal ones that the sailors were wearing. But when Queen Victoria's son wore the sailor suit, the connecting lines made it very unclear whether the stripes were going vertically or horizontally, so this kind of changed everybody's perspective on the direction of line, meaning a certain status in society. Everyone just kind of saw it as a more youthful, playful kind of pattern, and it was more accessible to everybody, and everyone can just kind of wear whatever direction of stripes you want to wear. Moving up the timeline a little bit, in 1917, Gabrielle Chanel was vacationing in France, and she fell in love with the sailor uniforms and the stripes, and this inspired Chanel's 1917 Nautical collection. And Gabrielle Chanel is also credited for designing that official Breton top. You know that basic one that I mentioned earlier, the one, not earlier, in one of my other videos that has like the white and then like the stripes? You know the one that like literally everybody has. Hollywood stars such as Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn helped popularize this style, bringing the trend into the mid-20th century. At this point, it was worn by all social classes. With the boom of beach culture in the early 20th century, it was easy for stripes to be linked to beachwear since stripes were often seen on sailors and boats, so pretty much anything relating to water had stripes on it. So this resulted in the first bathing suits to be striped. I specifically love beachwear from like the 1950s and 60s with the pastels. Think like California Beach Boys kind of style. I think it's just so cute. That's definitely probably one of my favorite eras for like striped fashion in terms of beachwear, which is the perfect segue to show you how I'm going to be wearing it this season. I'm a little bit more fond of like the really thin little candy stripes, vertical of course. So I'm just going to pull some examples from my closet. I do still have stripes on my shopping list because I actually don't have too many striped pieces, but I think you kind of get a general idea of the type of stripe that I'm talking about. thing on my shopping list is closely related to stripes, and it is clothes that have a nautical like theme to them. I love nautical clothes. I think they are so cute. Obviously, we know stripes kind of has that nautical feel to it. Obviously, sailors, we literally just had this conversation. But I'm specifically looking for the type of sailor clothes that have that like really cute like sailor collar that kind of have a little bow or like tie at the front and that flap at the back. I think it is so cute. Going back to Queen Victoria and that striped sailor suit worn by Prince Albert, this was such a pivotal point for nautical inspired clothing, and it must have caused quite a commotion because by 1870 nautical styles were seen as like a high status symbol. Sailor suits were very popular for children in the Edwardian period. It's also seen in a lot of women's clothing, so you have the little sailor tie at the front and a small little flap at the back. This is actually perfectly displayed in season 2 of Downton Abbey. You see the girls wearing these sailor-like blouses during that season. Even though the Edwardian period ended just before World War I, the style stuck around until the start of the 1920s. I feel like nautical fashion comes back every like 20-ish years. It was popular again in the 1940s, which is probably my favorite era to pull inspiration from, although the 1920s ones are also very, very cute and delicate. Then it came back around in the 1960s with short little mod dresses, and then also again in the 1980s, which is probably my least favorite era to pull inspiration from, like ever. I haven't really seen sailor-like pieces come in style in like the 2000s at all, and I feel like we're kind of due for like a sailor comeback. Right now, those like big round little ruffly collars are in style, so I'm kind of hoping the transitions into like a sailor-like collar. I feel like I'm dreaming too big, but that's kind of what I'm hoping is going to happen. But anyway, so like I said, they are really hard to find, so if you are at the thrift store, make sure you look around and try to see if you can find some sailor-like pieces, or maybe just leave them there so that I can find them. But anyway, I'm just going to show you some examples. The next item on my shopping list is something that is not going to be a surprise to any of you because I always mention it every single spring and summer, but it is circle midi skirts. I am just like obsessed. You guys know how much I love those like really round, full circle midi skirts. I did mention this in my spring runway trends video because I did see like full midi skirts sprinkled all over the runways. However, I'm not seeing anyone wear this trend, and like I had this like dream, like this vision, right, that we would end the pandemic and then we would all go out into the like walk around and everyone's going to be in like full circle midi skirts. I was just so excited when I saw it on the runway, and the reality is all we're going to see is low-rise jeans and Y2K style, which I guess is more of a commentary on who's dictating fashion, and I feel like social media is beating Vogue, and that's a conversation for another video, but I feel like that's kind of what's happening right now, and it's really unfortunate because I was really excited to see everybody in full midi skirts, but I don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, just me. They're most commonly associated with the 1950s, which peaked from Dior's new look in 1947, although we have seen that silhouette before throughout history, especially in the 1800s. Well, after 1830, because Regency ended in 1820, but fashion didn't really turn around as fast as it does now. So after like 1830 to like 1870, you did have that really full skirt underneath, or like the dresses that were really full. After World War II ended and rationing stopped, people wanted to change, and there was Christian Dior debuting his new look. Full circle skirts became the style for the next decade, and even with longer hems than those seen in the 1940s, this style was very popular until the early to mid 1960s, although by the 60s, the hemline hit about the knee as opposed to like mid-calf seen in the 1950s. Personally, I love both lengths. I find that I get less stares when I wear a more 1960s hemline just because it is a little bit closer to the knee, and also 1950s skirts are a little bit harder to find. However, I do have a couple of 1950s ones, so I'm going to be showing you some examples of different kind of skirts you can wear to get this sort of look. So to go along with the circle skirts, the next thing on my shopping list is delicate blouses. I love delicate blouses. However, the issue that I have with them is shopping in modern stores. It's like impossible to find. There's two different types of blouses that you find in a modern store. You have like the really stiff workwear, school uniform kind of blouse that like you can barely move in. And then the other option is like a chiffon blouse, and like the shoulder seam is like all the way down here as opposed to like where your shoulder actually is. And they're really boxy, and a lot of the times they're really short, and it's just not flattering. Like, I don't know who's designing these blouses. Honestly, they're atrocious, and I just don't understand. Sorry, I sound like I'm really hating on these blouses, but honestly, like when you go to the thrift store and you find some that are a little bit older or like not from the past like 10 years, you really do see the difference. I just get really mad when I can't find things that actually fit a human body. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, I'm kind of looking at blouses that were inspired by like that early 1920s sailor style, again with a nautical theme. Something like that would be really, really cute, as well as blouses worn in like the 1930s to the 1960s. To me, 1930s blouses were a bit closer to the neck, and they have little bows and like ruffles, that sort of thing. They were a little bit more feminine and sheer. In the 1940s, because of the war, in the first half of the 40s, shirts were a little bit more minimal, and they were inspired by menswear, so the fabric was a little bit thicker. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of blouses in the first half of the 1940s. I definitely look for more inspiration in like the second half of the decade. Once the restrictions were lifted, blouses became a little bit more delicate with the addition of lace, ruffles, embroidery. They started to look a little bit more Victorian, if that makes sense. They had Peter Pan collars, V-neck collars, some had no collar at all, but mostly they were made in white, cream, and ivory. In the 1950s, we saw an explosion of color. Blouses in this time period were fitted to the waist, something we don't really see anymore. The sleeves came in different styles such as short, long, cap sleeves, and sleeveless. They were also more straight fitting versus like the puffy sleeves from the 1940s. Bows and frills were popular, as well as pearl buttons. Blouses are still popular in the early 1960s, and I would say that the styles didn't really change much from the 1950s. However, the Peter Pan collar was probably the most popular choice in the early 1960s. I'm gonna be honest, I actually don't have too many examples in terms of blouses. I actually find them really hard to find, at least like nice fitting ones. So I'm gonna pull some from my closet, that way you kind of have a general idea of the type of blouses that I'm looking for. The next thing that I have on my shopping list is accessories, and accessories are the easiest way to make your outfit look a little bit more vintage. However, I am not going to go too much into like the backstory of each accessory because I feel like there's not really a need for it, and this video is already super long, so I'm not going to get like that into it. I'm just going to list some of the examples that I'm going to be shopping for. So the first one that I have is straw hats, or just hats in general. You guys know how much I love hats, and I don't really have a particular time period that I'm interested in terms of hats. I just kind of see them and I like them and I buy them, kind of thing, like nothing really specific. So I'm probably just going to go to the thrift store and see if I can find some. So I'm going to show some examples on the screen right now so you guys can kind of see some of my recent ones, or just ones that I'm really interested in right now. But yeah, so like I said, I just kind of go to the thrift store and find something pretty that I like and matches the rest of my clothes. The next thing on my shopping list is sheer scarves, and you guys know how much I love these. These were very popular in the 1950s. They would tie them around their neck as well as tie it around their head to protect their hair when they were in like a convertible or something. Very like old Hollywood, which I love. You guys see me wear scarves tied around my head all the time. I feel like I wear that like all year round, so this really isn't something new for me. However, those sheer scarves are really hard to find, so it is at the very top of my list in terms of accessories. The last thing that I have, I actually don't have like an actual example of something that I own, because this is something that I've been looking for a while and haven't been able to find yet. However, I will keep searching, and if I find it, hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys at some point this summer, fingers crossed. And it is like these white sandals that kind of look like the jelly shoes from like the 90s, but they're like leather and white, and it's something that I really want for like everyday wear, just to like walk around in. I think it's so cute. I'm going to show you guys like a photo on the screen right now, but I think they're so cute, but like impossible to find. I've tried everywhere. I saw some places like online, like they custom make them, but I don't know. I don't know if I trust like getting it custom made, so I don't know. We'll see. If you guys know something where I can get something similar, let me know in the comments below. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the color palette of my spring summer wardrobe. Obviously it's not going to be perfect. I have like so many colors in my closet, but like the ideal color palette that I have is like a really muted kind of color palette. So you have red, blue, cream, sage green, sky blue, dusty rose, and like a pale yellow. I think that's pretty much like the main color palette that I'm shopping for this season. I think it's so cute, and I'm just really into the kind of like muted little colors. I think I just watched like Downton Abbey like too much recently, that like that color palette is just like in my head. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I feel like I've been talking for ages. I feel like you guys have probably been watching this video for ages. I'm hoping this isn't like too much information. I feel like I kind of wanted it to make a little bit more interesting instead of me just saying what things I'm shopping for. I am still planning to do like a thrifting my Pinterest board kind of video. So when I do that, I will be referencing this video as well as the Pinterest board that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So you can find that down in the description box. But yeah, if you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe as well as turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow me on Instagram if you don't follow me already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!